Hi, I'm Heinbach. It's good to have you back. As some of you might know, I'm in the process of writing an album, and the first 3 episodes of this process are up on YouTube, and there's a playlist where you can watch them all at once. I've already made plans on the future episodes. There will be one on the artwork, for example, and there will be one on mastering, for which I'm happy to have gotten Nathan Moody involved, and I will be covering how to self-release also. For now, I'm still in the process of writing the music, and I would have thought that I would have gotten stuck. I mean, I've been working at this for 2 weeks now, but the song I just did came to me as a gift. Basically, it was inspiration that just struck while I was interacting with my instruments. And that gave me an idea. I'm gonna cover the one question that I've been asked a lot. How do I get inspired, and how do I keep getting inspired? Let me start by telling you how this song came into being. I was just experimenting with this lovely Brilliant Care Type 1616 filter. This was given to me as a donation by Lindet. Thank you very much for this. I ran a pad from the Juno 60 behind me through this and was looking through the frequencies, and I started to hear something. By scanning through the overtones with this filter, I started to hear melodies, something airy and light. And Felt Instruments had just sent me their new sample library, Blisco, pre-production, so I could give feedback and test some things out, and some of these suggestions made it even the final version, and I started playing to that filtered pad. From that moment on, I was completely sucked into the world that these instruments created, and I went over to the syntax to give it some bass foundation. Followed up on my original plan for this album to use the Chase Bliss Audio blooper to loop piano, only this time I tried all the modes, and I multi-tracked and I filtered it. I played both the piano and the effects, and that created something that I couldn't predict, but it gave me all these ideas and sounds that make the hairs on the neck of my back tingle. Then it was just a little bit of arranging and the track was done. The process that started this track reminds me of the Pet Shop Boys, who, when asked what inspires them, they simply said, "There's always a new keyboard." And that's absolutely true. New instruments will give new inspirations as you're trying to figure out what they're doing, as you don't know exactly what's happening, and you discover all these things, and there's a honeymoon phase with every new instrument. That is absolutely lovely, and you should always hit record from the get-go and not lose these very precious moments. Because there will become a time when you've gotten more used and you think, okay, this instrument is now kind of done for me, I know what it does, so you start using it in the functions that you learned with it in the beginning. But I would say you can go further, and you can patch more and learn more and work instruments more and more, and from there on comes a new wave of inspiration and mastery of an instrument. This is also part why something like the syntax is something I could never cover in just one video. I need to learn it over a longer time, because this is based on an iconic instrument where there are so many good players, and I need to do something like this justice by spending a lot of time with it and focusing on it. And that's a more difficult process to get inspiration, but the inspiration that you get from diving deep into an instrument and figuring out all its weirdness and all its things and the way you can turn it upside down by doing creative patching, that has some beauty to it. A fast track way to get more out of an instrument that you've already been using for a long time is using it in unexpected ways. For example, with guitar pedals, putting them in different orders, put the distortion behind the reverb, just mix it up and you'll have an entirely new setup as all the effects interact differently. If you've got a modular synthesizer, simply changing up the layout of the modules that you already have will again stimulate your brain in all kinds of interesting ways, and you'll have this new instrument and you don't need to buy a new module. When I was a kid, we had this little plaque in the kitchen that said, "The mind grows by what it feeds on." And by the way, the best thing to come off this video personally might be that my mother took her first picture on the iPad. She's 80 years old and she managed to do that by herself with minimal input from me. So thank you, Mom, for doing this. Of course, this plaque is not great wisdom, but to me as a kid, it made an impression. I read every day in the morning and before I go to sleep. Sometimes I read books for fun and to relax. Sometimes I like to challenge myself. For example, reading T.C. Boyle, The Harder They Come, where I find no relationship to any of the characters, but I still see their journey, and that's super interesting to me, and that's how I learn and get input, and I learn to get different perspectives. And even if there's no direct influx to my music, the simple process of reading and putting myself in other people's heads makes my brain more relaxed. I call it the defragmentation of my brain. The most direct inspiration, of course, is reading a book that's related to what I do, like, where are you? Like this coffee-stained copy of Daphne Orum's An Individual Note, and learning about her approach to music. And in the early days of electronics, that's very fascinating. And sometimes when I read something like this, I just have to make music. There's so much there that inspires me. Scores. This is by Georgi Ligeti and it's Atmospheres, the one that was famously used in 2001: A Space Odyssey. And just looking at the score, it's relaxing and there's ideas in there. And I wouldn't say I'm the fastest sight reader. I just don't have enough practice for that anymore. But yeah, reading scores can help if you are into reading scores. If I have to write lyrics, mostly for my theater composing work, I basically read 5 to 10 books of poetry, make a lot of notes, find sentences that I like and I think could build into a song and write my own story around that. And that's very powerful, because poems, they are these little seeds, highly condensed images, and that if I plant those in my head, they will grow really fast. I do get inspired by listening to music, and the biggest inspiration comes from music that I don't understand or that is new to me. That is why I'm saying that African music, especially seen through the lens of Francis Bébé, that has been one of the best things that happened to me. I read up a whole lot about it and I listened to it, and it's such an inspiring world for me, and it influenced the way I think about rhythm and even the way that I think about composition as a whole. Instead of thinking of notation, clauses and rules, thinking of music as a conversational thing, where even in one instrument the different notes speak to each other like a family, with a father, a child and a mother. The book The Soul of Mbira is something I can heartily recommend for that. Sometimes a change of scenery can work well. I like to sit on the balcony or take this little OP1 out with me and just record outdoors. You can use the internal microphone to modulate your sounds, and all kinds of interesting things happen then. And nowadays there's so many ways you can get your synthesizers, drum machines and all the tools to music outdoors, because there's this Strom Mobile, which is an external power solution. There's this Ripcord, and you just plug these things into a power bank and then all your synthesizers basically become outdoor instruments. And ever since reading The Crying of Lot 49 by Thomas Pynchon, where the band called the Paranoids patched their oscillators together by the beach, that has been a dream of mine, and that's basically now something easily realizable. Or leave all your gear behind and just enjoy a walk in the park. That really helps, especially if you're working with other people and you're having a long session. Taking a step out for a coffee or a walk is great. And personally, I get a lot of inspiration from nature. If you're a professional musician and make music every day, the following words by Eric Satie, the French composer, might ring true to you. I rise at 7:18. Am inspired from 10:23 to 11:47. I lunch at 12:11 and leave the table at 12:14. A healthy ride on horseback around my domain follows from 1:19 p.m. to 2:53 p.m. Another bout of inspiration from 3:12 to 4:07 p.m. From 4:27 to 6:47 p.m. various occupations. Fencing, reflection, immobility, visits, contemplation, dexterity, meditation, etc. Dinner is served at 7:16 and finished by 7:20 p.m. From 8:09 to 9:59 p.m. symphonic readings out loud. I go to bed regularly at 10:37 p.m. Once a week, I wake up with a start at 3:19 Tuesdays. Now, of course, this is tongue-in-cheek, and he's been known to be kind of a trickster. There is real truth to what he's saying here. At least I interpret these very precise times when he is inspired as the times that he goes into his study to write. And for most of us, at least I think I speak for most of us who've been writing a lot, inspiration often just means spending time in the studio, just clocking in, starting to work, and then clocking out. I oftentimes don't even think about inspiration anymore. Inspiration just means showing up and doing the work. I sometimes have to write a song on the train while I'm traveling to a theater, perform it there in front of 8 actors and a team in a way that will make them think, oh, I want to sing this song. And yeah, that is something I've only gotten good at by being used to clocking in on time. Like, okay, so now this is 9:30 to 12:30. This is my best time. And if I'm stuck, I shift. And instead of working on a piano piece, I will then just try some other techniques, make some sounds on a synthesizer for later use, make some sound bangs, or yeah, just work on something related but different, where there's not much pressure to finish something. Even if you're on crunch time, have to finish something, that might help to write that other piece easier. I believe that professional way of showing up and not even thinking about inspiration, it can be applied to non-professional music making. Just find slots during the day where you can work on something. It doesn't have to have a result every time. It's just don't stop the process. In my personal experience, if you step out of the flow of creating for a longer period, it's very hard to step back into, and you basically have to build up all that flow. Try to stay in the flow without forcing yourself to finish something. Just keep on working and recording and working on recording on something. And I believe from that continued process, you will create something. These are all my ideas and inspiration. It's nothing scientific, it's just what I could observe works for me. You might have completely different ideas and inspiration, and I would love to hear them in the comments. Also, if there are scientific studies that you think could be interesting to the topic, please post them there. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a little bit of a departure for me because it's much more this is more of a talking video, but it's something that I've been wanting to do for a longer time. And I think this album and the whole context of creation is perfect for, these kind of ideas and these kind of videos. So if you like this, tell me about that. And also if you don't, please tell me also. So that's it for this video. You can find the music to this episode on the Patreon already. And thanks everybody who supports me there. You're the reason I can keep on making these videos. See you in the next one. Bye.